Welcome everyone. Another Wednesday episode K&K Sports Show. Kenny K here without a familiar face, Mr. Valenti. He will be with us shortly, but I got my other usual suspects with me, and we got a special Wednesday night guest with us. And I'll start with the general himself, Joey Clams. How you doing, Joe?
Mike, you don't come to Vegas and talk to a man like Mo Green like that. How you doing? How you feel? I hope everybody did good last weekend. Hope he's made a lot of money. Hope he's making money on Monday night and Tuesday night. Let's go. How you doing? Hey, Paulie. Hey, Scoops. How are you?
How you doing?
Joe, thanks for joining us on a Wednesday last minute notice. Appreciate it.
I appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
Let's move on to our Major Rosen's with us tonight. How you doing, Major Rosen?
Good evening, gentlemen. Looking forward to a good show. We have a lot to talk about from all spectrums. So let's get started.
Very good, very good. Captain Carson Shears with us. How you doing, Carson?
What's up, boys? How we doing? Welcome everybody to the show. Lots of information to talk about. Hopefully your guys' sports teams did well over the weekend. And yeah, let's get ready to roll.
Last but not least, Corporal Scoop is with us tonight. How you doing, Corp?
How you doing? Yeah, my Eagles had a nice little win there over Tennessee, and my cardiac event yesterday didn't end up being too bad with Aaron Judge being rumored to go to San Francisco. He did end up staying in New York, so we got a lot to look forward to.
Guys, our good friend from Denver, Colorado area, David Slade, Willow Blends and Seasonings, is saying hello to everyone. And
hey, David.
Christmas is coming up. Guys, I mean this bottom of my heart. If you haven't tried Dave's rubs and sauces, go check out Willow Seasonings. You will not be disappointed, especially with the Christmas time coming up. Little stocking stuffer type of gift there for everybody. Joe, I know that's right up your alley, Joe.
Yeah.
Go check out Willow Seasoning and Blends.
Okay.
You will not be disappointed. Dave, thanks for joining. Good to hear from you. Had fun on talking Bronco football with you tonight, but we're not going to talk Broncos too much tonight, Dave, unless you got a question you want to throw out there to us. But we're going to talk some NFL football to start the show off, boys. Couple of news stories. We had a couple injuries to a couple of major contenders, one in the AFC and one in the NFC. One not so serious, it looks like, and that's Lamar Jackson's going to be out for a couple weeks. And the more serious one, Jimmy Garoppolo out for the Niners, maybe will come back in the playoffs. I'm going to ask a question to you guys first, and then I want to get into some of the top matchups of the week. I'll start with Joe because that's how I see it on my screen. How are these injuries going to affect the 49ers and Ravens going forward, Joe? And then I'll ask the same question to everybody else.
Okay. It's a big hit that you lose Jimmy. He was really having a good year, and he fit right into the system pretty good. But I don't think they're going to lose that much of a step. We'll find out. I mean, we got a small version of it on Sunday. We'll see how he goes here because he's got all those weapons. Just don't let him get involved in the game. Just let him manage and see if he could hit the short passes, two-stop drop, hand the ball off, and the defense is ferocious. I still think they'll be fine, and there's a window for them to get to the Super Bowl and host an NFC Championship game if you want to know that, because the Cowboys are probably going to win 13 games. They're going to go to Tampa. They could beat them, and then they're going to go and play Philly, where 49ers will play the Vikings. If Seattle, Vikings get by Seattle or Giants or something like that, and then Cowboys and 49ers in Levi Stadium for the NFC Championship. That might be one of the roads that you'll be seeing. And Lamar Jackson, they take a big hit. He is their whole team. And they were having a hard time scoring. Baltimore just took a big hit with that. And we'll see if they can survive. And I think the Bengals are going to sneak up and win that division on them now.
Paul, I'll change it up and ask you a question about the 49ers. Are the 49ers still, in your mind, favorites to win the division, or is here comes Seattle now?
I think they're still the favorites to win the division, even though they have Mr. Irrelevant, Brock Purdy as the quarterback. I think they'll not to make him sound like not a good quarterback, but I think they'll dummy it down a little bit for him in order to complete the rest of the season for the 49ers. I think they're still the favorites. They have overwhelmingly the best roster in maybe in football, certainly in the division. And I'm going to go with the totality of the whole 49er team versus Geno Smith and the Seahawks in the Western Division at this point.
Carson, I'll ask you about the Ravens. Are the Ravens? What are your thoughts on the Ravens? Are they going to win their division? Are they going to make the playoffs? Lamar's going to be out for probably, let's say, estimated 3 weeks, I would say. Or are Bengals going to take over? What are your thoughts on the Ravens?
Yeah, and I think the Bengals is a team they got to watch out for. I think they're on the rise, especially with Jamar Chase coming back. Mixon's supposed to be back this week. I think the Ravens have got to compete with the Bengals to win the their division. I'm with Paul and Joey. I think the 49ers are going to be just fine. I think Lamar was a bigger loss to the Ravens than Jimmy G was to the 49ers. We'll see what Brock Purdy can do. We'll see what Tyler Huntley can do, but obviously it sucks when you lose your starting quarterback who's your heart and soul of the team. But the 49ers, I still feel like they're in control. I think they're going to get into the playoffs regardless, whether it may be their division or a wild card. But that defense on that 49ers team is too good. But I think the Ravens are in trouble though.
And Ryan, let me ask you on the defenses, because both defenses have been solid, especially since the Ravens traded for Roquan Smith. Which defense has to even step up more now going forward with a few weeks left in the season?
I think that Baltimore's defense has to step up more just because I think that the multiple ways in which Lamar Jackson can affect the game or even affect the way that your opponent prepares for the game. I believe that that's going to be a higher onus on the Baltimore defense to do that next level. I don't think that that's going to be an issue so much in San Francisco, where it definitely, obviously, Garoppolo to Purdy is definitely a decline, definitely a drop off there. No disrespect to Brock Purdy, but I don't see that being as much to overcome for the defensive side, where the defense has already been playing at a top level. I don't see that as much of an issue. I think the onus is more on Baltimore's defense at this time.
Fair enough. I'm going to get into some top matchups of the week, guys. Then we'll do some college football, and then we'll get into some baseball. I got some top matchups written down. I'll start with Carson. I wrote this one down on the list because to me, it's maybe number 5 on the list of the games. And that has to do with his Detroit Lions facing the Minnesota Vikings. His Lions are hosting the Minnesota Vikings, I should say. Carson, what are you expecting out of this game? You don't have to necessarily give us a prediction. We can save that for tomorrow. But if you want to throw a prediction out there, you're more than welcome to. But what are your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, I think the Vikings are still a good football team, but they have been deceiving with their record. Their record says they're 10-2, but a lot of those wins have been pretty close losses, if not on the last possession of the game. They have one of the worst defenses in the NFL protecting the pass. And it's crazy to me, but the Lions currently are a 2.5-point favorite right now, which is really unusual. A 5-7 team is a 2.5-point favorite versus a 10-2 team who's probably going to win the NFC North. But yeah, I expect this to be a very high scoring game. Both of these defense are not that great. The Lions are on the rise. They've gotten all their pieces back. They're healthy. It's kind of a long shot for us to make the playoffs, but if we somehow win now, this is the game to do it, to really turn this team around and make a push for the playoffs. But it should be a good game. Kirk Cousins, he's doing his thing. You got Justin Jefferson, Dalvin Cook. But yeah, both defenses are pretty bad. But when I saw that line, I was pretty shocked by it.
Yeah, I was too, Carson. And what was your thought? Is Jameson Williams back yet, or is he?
Yeah, so he was in the game last week. He's still kind of recovering from that ACL he tore back in the national championship. against Georgia. But yeah, they kind of wanted to get him in the offense, get a feel for the offense, get some reps. But they said he's going to get a lot more target shares this Sunday against the Vikings.
Joe, since you're usually on with Thursdays with us, no spreads involved tonight. Who would you pick in this game, Joe, on a money line, Lions or Vikings?
Oh, so I'm picking the Lions. I mean, I got to tell you, the spread is the big thing. It's 2.5. Vikings, like what Carson said, they're 10. They look at their record and look at it, and the Lions got to lose a record. The Jets left a lot of points on the board last week. The Jets should have won that game. First and goal from the 8, first and goal from the 6, second and goal from the 1. No touchdowns. They're not. The Vikings ain't going to stop the Lions. You know what? We've been knocking the coach. He's got the Lions playing really good. They're believing in themselves in that locker room. Hopefully, he can close the game out. This is a sucker game, right? Written all over it. Lions. Look out for the Lions. If they get on a roll here, you never know. Their last game of the year might mean something. They might be able to sneak in because the Giants might not win another game this year. Maybe Seattle doesn't win. It's going to leave the door wide open for a couple of teams.
Right. Good point, Joe. Number 4 game I wrote down. I'll give this one to Paul because it's down his neck of the woods. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Paul, we just talked about Jimmy Garoppolo getting hurt, but Tom Brady, another comeback in his GOAT career last week against the Saints. Traveling to San Francisco now, Paul. What are you expecting out of this game?
Yeah, it's going to be a pretty competitive game. Obviously, this kid is going to start for the 49ers. They're throwing him out there. I think they're going to rely on their defense. They're going to keep it simple. They're going to rely on the defense trying to negate Brady and their offense. Hopefully, the way the Bucs are playing this year, their offense really has not been high energy as it has been in the past. So if that game could stay fairly low, 2017, I can see the Bucs possibly pulling that game out, maybe a late field goal. But I think it's going to be a fairly low scoring game.
Anybody agree? Does anybody disagree? Want to add anything?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that total is 37. That's going to be a low scoring game. I think Brady is going to have a hard day. That defense is going to be all over him. And the big thing we got to see with the Buccaneer defense, which is pretty good, getting better right now. What are they going to do? How's this quarterback going to handle that? And it's going to be a really, really tight game. But I think the 49ers will be able to win. I think Brady doesn't like to get hit, and they're coming after him. I think he's going to have a long day. Low scoring, but it's going to be Brady's going to have a long day. I'm looking for a 49er victory.
Fair enough. Number 3 game I got here. I think it's going to be a good one Sunday night, Ryan. Dolphins are traveling to the Chargers. What do you got here, Ryan?
Dolphins to the traveling to the Chargers. I've got increasing excitement with how Tua has been playing this year, especially coming off of the injuries that he had. The Chargers, for some reason, they just keep finding ways to lose games that I don't think they should be losing. I liked Brandon Staley when he was hired. I liked some of his aggressiveness, but some of his decision making isn't just aggressive. Some of it's just very questionable. And I think that's not necessarily helping. And I also thought their defense side of the ball with some of the guys they added to that defensive front would be a little more aggressive and be a little more successful at holding teams down. I think if I had to pick that game, I would probably go with the Dolphins right now. I just trust them more on each side of the ball. Obviously, I'm not going to say that Tua is a better quarterback than Herbert, but I think if you're asking me coaching and who I trust more on both sides of the ball, I'm going to take the Dolphins over the Chargers.
Fair enough. Joe, what do you want to put in for the betting side of this for the public?
Yeah, Miami, this is going to be their second game of 3 games on the road. They play Sunday night, and then they're playing next Saturday. They're going over to Buffalo. Miami really needs this game. This is a big game for the Dolphins and the Chargers also. But the Chargers really can't stop anybody, and this is a perfect game, I think, for Miami to open it up and fling the ball all over the yard. But they're going to see if the Miami defense can stop the Chargers, because the Charger defense ain't stopping Miami. And you see, this can go back and forth. Last guy with the ball is going to win.
Fair enough. Carson, I actually have a tie for third, so I'll give you this one real quick. The Browns, Deshaun Watson back last week, a little rusty, but now he gets his first true rival game in his conference there as the Browns are traveling to Cincinnati. Carson, what are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I almost cringed a little bit when you said the word tie there, Kenny. Broke a heart in my soul right there, Paul and Kenny. But anyways, yeah, it was. Yeah, I think that's going to be an interesting matchup too. I think the Bengals are one of the hottest teams in the AFC right now. Like I said, they got all their weapons back on offense. They got a pretty good defense too. They shut down Patrick Mahomes and took care of business over there. Deshaun, I think it's going to take at least a couple more games for him to maybe get back to the way he once was. I'm not going to obviously mention his off-field stuff, but yeah, he's still Deshaun Watson. He's proven he can still be an NFL player and a quarterback. But yeah, it's I like the Bengals. I don't see the Browns kind of really being competitive with them in this game.
Clams, what are your thoughts on the betting side of this?
Well, I remember the last game they played. I had the Bengals, and they couldn't do anything. They had a terrible game. The Browns just ran the ball right down their throat, threw the ball down their throat. This is a tough game. I really got to cap this game and wait till Friday and see what's going on. Yeah, Deshaun Watson, he hasn't played in 500 days. Well, I think even longer, except for last week against the Civ Houston Texan team. We'll see what happens. It's I got no play on it right now, but this is a really good game. Interesting.
Nice. Two more games. Number 2, Paul, I'll give this one to you. The Jets are traveling to Buffalo. We all know what the Jets did a couple weeks ago against Buffalo, but what are you expecting in this one?
Whenever they go up to Buffalo, it's always a difficult game for them. They always seem to come up with some crazy way of losing. And even though Buffalo has now lost Von Miller for the season, I think their defense is gonna unfortunately prove that maybe Mike White is not the answer for the Jets. So I can see Buffalo really exerting their offense on the Jets defense. I mean, the Jets defense has been good this year, but I can see maybe a 28-10, 31-13 type of game.
Okay. And Joey, what are your thoughts on the betting side of this one?
I'm worried about this game for the Jet fans and the Jets themselves, because their offensive play calling is putrid. They're running the ball right into a stack of people. They had no imagination against the Vikings. They left all those points on the board. You're not going to do that again, against Buffalo. Buffalo's going to score points. You got to get ahead of Buffalo right away. You got to be aggressive. You need this game. You got to be aggressive, get ahead of them, go for it on 4th down. Can't stop with the field goals. You need touchdowns to beat the Buffalo Bills up there.
Fair enough. Number 1 game, Brian, I'll let you go first since your team is in first place and not arguably, but on paper, definitely best team in football right now, and that's your Philadelphia Eagles, Ryan, facing Paul, mine, Sis, our Giants. What are your thoughts on this game, Ryan? And then we'll let Paul go to respond.
Well, as I've been saying for the entire season, I have been impressed by what the Giants have been doing. I think that Daniel Jones was always a better quarterback than he got the chance to show. And obviously Saquon Barkley, when he's healthy, is a force to be reckoned with in any offense. I'm still concerned about our rushing defense, and if it goes in a way where the Giants get a score ahead of us, and then they're able to just use Saquon Barkley against our rushing defense, which has been lackluster at times, to control the clock, control the flow of the game, it could be a concerning game for Philadelphia. However, I had similar concerns going into Tennessee, and Philly quieted me pretty quick on that. So I do believe that Philly will win this game. I like their roster at all different levels, both on the trenches and on the further ends of both offense and defense. More than I like that of the Giants, but I'm not counting the Giants out by any stretch. I'm not in any way going to predict that this is going to be a blowout type of a game. I think that it's going to be a competitive one and a good old-fashioned rivalry game.
And Paul, what are your thoughts on the Giants side of things?
Needless to say, this is another rivalry, possible must-win game. The Eagles probably will be the best team that they've played all year. I don't want to sound cliche-ish, but they can't turn the ball over against this team. And trying to control the line of scrimmage is going to be difficult for the Giants' offensive line. The interior has been very weak the last few games. They've had revolving doors with injuries on the guard positions, and it's been difficult to run the ball. If they can't run the ball with Saquon and even use RPOs with Daniel Jones, I don't think the Giants have a shot to even be in this game. That being said, the Eagles at some point will have some type of letdown. It's almost inevitable. It's at MetLife Stadium. Again, it's a rivalry game. Last year, they beat the Eagles at MetLife. And I think it can be hopefully competitive through at least most of the game. We'll see.
Joe, what do you want to add on the betting side of things here?
Well, yeah, even besides that, I just want to give credit to the Eagles. I'm impressed the way they attack their weaknesses. They attacked the Packers' run defense 2 weeks ago. They attacked the bed. They attacked the Tennessee. You know what they said? We're going to play Tennessee. We're going to throw the ball. They attacked their secondary. They attacked the weaknesses of your team. I'm worried for the Giants because last week watching that Giant game, the first touchdown, poor tackling. The last touchdown, poor tackling. They're having a bad time tackling, and they don't move the ball. They got to throw they don't make any plays. You can't rely on Barkley because they're going to load up against you. But hey, listen, it's a divisional rivalry game. Giants need this game. You're fighting for your playoff lives now. Your life's on the line. You got to fight to the end. It's going to be a great game. I can't wait for it.
Good points, Joe. Anybody want to add any games that I missed for the top five that they think I should have put in, or do you think I nailed the top five?
Good job.
One more story. We don't have to get into it too much. Baker Mayfield was released. I was going to ask, where do you think maybe the 49ers take a shot at him? But we all know by now the LA Rams stopped that because they signed him. And I don't think there's too much to talk about with Baker Mayfield. So I think we'll move on to college football. I think that should be the next thing we talk about here. So I want to talk about the college football playoffs, guys. It was announced, and I don't think it was too much of a surprise, that Georgia, Michigan, TCU, even though they lost, remain number 3, and Ohio State jumped into number 4 after USC getting beat. First question, and I'll ask Joey first because that's the order I see it on my screen. Were the right teams put in, Joe?
Yes. Yes, the right teams were put in. Georgia, number 1, Michigan, number 2. TCU, you can't penalize them for playing an extra game in their conference game and went down to the wire overtime. They belong in there. They showed that. And Ohio State, somebody had to sneak in the back door, and you couldn't put Alabama in with 2 losses. They didn't have any big wins. That Notre Dame win for Ohio State and the Penn State win, because Alabama, who they beat, Texas with the backup quarterback, 3 horrific penalty calls on them. They beat Texas A&M. They were 24-point favorite. They just snuck the win in. It's not their year. And, I think the 4 top teams are in there. I can't wait for the 12 teams. So you give everybody a chance, and you'll see something will happen. They have to do it, and they're going to do it. I can't wait for that.
Yep. Paul, you agree? Right teams were put in?
Oh yeah, Joey nailed it perfectly. He said exactly what I think most of us would feel. Alabama, sorry Ryan, sorry sis, with 2 losses, just couldn't take that fourth spot, and Ohio State capitalized on USC's unfortunate game. So yeah, he nailed it.
Carson, anything to add?
No, I'm with Paul and Joey and you, Kenny. I think they got the right teams in. I think Georgia's 1, Michigan's 2, TCU 3, and Ohio State snuck in at number 4. I think Ohio State only falling 3 spots. They got to thank the committee for that, because I thought they would fall even further. I mean, they got dismantled at home by Michigan, but obviously the committee valued Michigan as a superior top program in the country. And when USC fell out of the picture, they had to slide one team up, and that's Ohio State. I think Georgia in a way got screwed a little bit.
Yeah.
I think Georgia should be playing TCU and Michigan should be playing Ohio State. The problem is, though, is for ratings, they can't have Michigan, Ohio State again, because that was the game 2 weeks ago. So they're hoping it's for the national championship. I hope that's what it is. That'd be crazy. But yeah, I think TCU, they deserved it. I mean, like Joey just said, they got to a conference championship game and they lost in overtime. You can't penalize them for that, and they were undefeated going in. So I think the committee got it right, and like I said, I'm looking forward to when they do expand it to 12 teams, because you saw in the Big Ten championship why divisions in conferences make absolutely no sense. Purdue had no business being in the Big Ten championship, and Michigan just tore them apart. So looking forward to that.
That's a good point, Carson. Ryan, what do you want to add before I get to the next question here?
I went back and forth on this. Obviously, I think the top 3 teams were correct. I do believe that Alabama probably faced a little bit of reverse bias with this situation, where they were probably looked at as, well, do we want to put Alabama in again with 2 losses, like you said, even though those losses were against high-ranked teams by a combined 6 points, I believe it was. So I think that they were probably looking for every excuse they could to not put Alabama in there. That being said, I do think that Ohio State's game against Michigan should have factored in a little bit more. But that's not something that I have control over. And I think Alabama will be back next year to show that that the committee got this one wrong.
Yeah, the only thing I'll agree with Carson, I think the only thing, the right teams are in. I would have liked to see Alabama in because I think it would be more competitive than TCU. But TCU should have dropped down to number 4, in my opinion. But like Carson said, they're not going to put Michigan up against Ohio State in the first round of the playoffs if they can avoid that. And that's what they did. So Georgia's going to, I think, have a tough time with Ohio State, because Ohio State was the number 2 team all year, and then they had one bad game against Michigan, and here they are off the planet, and now they get over a month to prepare for Georgia. Watch out. So that's what I'll say on that. But other than that, I think they nailed it. And my next question, though, would be, and I'll start again with Joey Clams, the other New Year's Bowls games, Joe. USC versus Tulane, Penn State versus Utah, Alabama versus Kansas State, Clemson versus Tennessee. Does that have more of a sex appeal to you than the playoff games in the first round?
You know what? It always did. I'm big. I love the Rose Bowl. New Year's Day is a big day for me. Always since I was 4 years old, 5 years old, because I've been gambling since that long. Everybody, we used to go to my uncle's house for New Year's Day, and everybody was gambling. It was part of growing up. I think the Rose Bowl is going to be really good. It was great last year. Utah's back in it, and Utah Penn State I think is a great game. The Alabama Kansas State game, Alabama's already got a lot of players that they're going to be opting out, and listen, they're waiting for the draft, and you can't blame them. That's the sad part about it, but that's what it is nowadays. And the Tennessee Clemson game, I'm looking forward for that one, and so I'm looking forward for the USC Tulane. Big high powered offense. and no defense. They don't tackle. The USC doesn't tackle. They don't teach that. And Tulane's got a good defense. I'm looking forward to that. It's going to be a fun day.
Agree, Joe. Paul, how about you? What are your thoughts on the New Year's Bowls games compared to the playoff games?
I think the playoff games are going to be exciting. And I feel Georgia is just far and above Ohio State and Michigan. And I think once they get into the championship game, they're going to show that. In my opinion, they're going to blow out Ohio State. I don't think there's a team in the United States as big and fast on both sides of the ball as Georgia. And I think they're going to show it and win back to back. That being said, I'm looking forward to the bowl games. I think they're going to be exciting. I think the matchups are excellent. It's unfortunate that Clemson playing Tennessee, the two starting quarterbacks will be out and the backups will be in. But that being said, I think overall the quality of the bowls this year are going to be really, really good. And I'm looking forward to all of them.
Carson, what are your thoughts on these games?
Yeah, I'm with you guys. I like I think the committee got it right. I think it's going to be great for the semifinals. One of the more anticipated semifinals that we've had in the playoff history. And I like the what the Rose Bowl got. I like the Tennessee Clemson matchup. I think there's going to be a lot of exciting games towards the back end of the year and heading into the new year. So I'm looking forward to it.
And those games are going to be on January 2nd.
Yeah.
Right.
Ryan, what are your thoughts? Alabama, some of these other games?
I'm looking forward to a couple of games, including Clemson. Obviously, I'll be rooting for the time in that one. Alabama versus Kansas State, I'm not super excited about, obviously. Even though, like it was said earlier, we're probably going to have a few of the players not competing based on getting ready for the draft, not wanting to have a situation like we've seen in too many players in recent years. But again, that's the nature of the beast. Looking at it from that perspective, though, I agree with what I believe it was Kurt who said it on our last show. Just going back briefly to the last question, I think that if you're looking at some of these bigger games in terms of who can actually contend with each other, I made this similar point last week. I think that there's more that could be done to ensure sort of more competitive balance between some of these teams so that you're not watching these big games and it's a 50-point spread between the two. So I do hope that that's something that maybe it does take the playoff expansion for that to happen, but I hope to see that happen more going forward because I love a good, 3-point game, 5-point game. I'm not really into this college football era where we're watching games just teams dominated, by 48 points and the game's over by the second quarter.
Agree. I think I like the Georgia-Ohio State matchup. I think Ohio State will come out and play hard in that game. Michigan-TCU should be fun. But the New Year's Bowls games, I think they could have maybe paired Alabama against USC or Clemson. Maybe that would have been a more, sexier game to watch over Kansas State. Kansas State's a good team, don't get me wrong, but the appeal isn't there. I think I would have, as a fan, would have liked to see Clemson versus Alabama, and shut up those Clemson faithful for a long time on how good their defense is. Don't get me started with that team. Tulane, I'm curious to see how good they play against USC. I think they got a great running game there, and hats off to Tulane for a great season. Hopefully they can continue against USC. Penn State, Utah should be a nice little undercard game. And Paul nailed it with Clemson, Tennessee. I mean, you got both quarterbacks hurt. That might take a little of the steam off, but it's still Clemson, Tennessee, so it should be a fun game to watch. Good buddy, good friend of ours to the show, Richie Katwika, saying hello, everybody. Hello, Rich. How are you?
Anybody see Richie? You know what he did, Bobby Lupo?
One other bowl game I didn't add on here that I think should be a fun game. It has to do with Paul's Notre Dame, and they're playing South Carolina, Paul. I think that'll be a fun one to watch. Any other bowl games that anybody?
If I could just jump in there.
Yeah.
the quarterback for Notre Dame, Drew Pine, went into the transfer portal. So after playing the majority of the season, he will not even be the starting quarterback. Buckner, who injured himself, I think the first game of the year or second game of the year, is coming back, and he's going to be the quarterback. So it should be interesting to see how their offense is against South Carolina, who we know is very explosive.
Richie, if you're still listening, we're going to get into some baseball in a minute or two. I know you're a big baseball guy. Transfer portal is going to be interesting. There's going to be a lot of quarterbacks, a lot of players transferring. It's going to be interesting to see where they all go. One story I want to bring up real quick, and we'll do it like rapid fire style. Joey Clams, Deion Sanders hire. How soon do you think he'll change, if he will change that program around? And by the way, Keith Brugman, our good friend over in Denver Bronco Roundup, Rocky Mountain Sports Network, saying hello and happy holidays to everybody.
Hey, Keith.
Hey, Kat.
What are your thoughts on Deion?
He changed the program yesterday. That's it. They're gonna be a powerhouse in about 2 years. He's already got 100 kids, top players that want to go there. He's gonna take over that Pac-12. He's gonna be really competitive, and they're gonna be a chance. They'll be in when it's the 12-team playoffs. They'll be there. That guy, it's about recruiting. He can recruit and he could coach too. He's gonna get the top players. People want to go play for him. Look out for the Buffs. Here they come.
Another one of our good friends at Denver Bronco Roundup, Rocky Mountain, Jody Moncrief, agreeing with you, Joe, and also saying that he's praying Notre Dame does not get DJ. Yeah. So, guys want to move on to some baseball? We got about 20 minutes left.
Yes, sir.
All right. So we'll get into some winter meetings talk. We all know the news today, but I want to start from the first big signing of the winter. And Paul, I'll start with you. It had to do with one of your former boys, leaving the Mets to go to the Rangers, Paul. So give me your thoughts on Jacob deGrom.
Yeah. Needless to say, it's a big disappointment that he decided to take the money and run. Look, I'd be remiss if I didn't say we're going to miss him. You can't blame someone take $185 million for 5 years. The Mets were not going to go 5 years with him. I know, reading some of the blogs and posts, many Met fans are annoyed, but you know what? In reading into why he decided to leave, there were things that were coming out that maybe we didn't realize. As much as he was a New York Met, and you can put him on the Mount Rushmore of Mets, he didn't like being in New York, apparently, and being from a small town in Florida. And I will tell you, being down here in Florida, you think of Miami, you think of Disney, you think of things like that. He's from a small city, DeLand, Florida. Being in New York, he was not the guy that's going to stay in a big city like that. He didn't like it. He didn't associate with everything that New York offers. So I think he's going to be much more comfortable in Texas. God bless him. Hopefully he stays healthy. Obviously, that's the key to him. And he was a professional when he was with the Mets. Clearly, if he didn't want to be in New York, you couldn't tell that by him going out and doing what he did for 9 years. So we appreciated him as a Mets fan. And I can only say, hopefully, he remains healthy and he does his thing for Texas and helps them win.
Yeah. Let me catch up with some comments before I ask Carson his thoughts on deGrom. A couple comments from Jody, getting back to Deion. He's already flipping 5 stars. We all know he got some a couple 5-star recruits down there at Jackson State. So curious to see what he's going to do with Colorado. Keith saying, is there a bigger name than prime time outside of Saban in college football head coaching? And now getting back into some baseball, Jose Abreu to Houston was a huge signing for us, and Jody's a Houston Astro fan. Keith DeGrom for Verlander, not a bad trade there. And Verlander is 40. That's why Astros didn't re-sign him. We're going to get into Verlander in a minute. Carson, anything to add on Jacob DeGrom going to the Rangers?
Yeah, no, I'm with Paul. You can't blame the guy for not accepting a $185 million contract. But yeah, I think he handled it very well. You know, he was very straightforward in saying, hey, I appreciate all the time that I had with the Mets, and now I'm kind of moving on to the next chapter of my career when he signed with the Rangers. So I think I don't know if you want to get into this now or later, Kenny, but I think you got a 1-2 punch now in Verlander and Scherzer. I mean, I saw them growing up, and they were pure dominance. Now they're a lot older than they once were, but I think that Paul's going to be very happy being that the 1-2 part of the rotation.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly, Carson. We're going to get to Verlander in a second, so we'll get into that. Ryan, your thoughts?
I really don't have much to add on top of what was already said. I think that this is going to be a great move for the Texas Rangers. I'm enjoying watching teams that aren't really the typical teams that go out and spend a bunch of money. I'm enjoying watching teams like that be able to have success on the market, getting in these big players, and I hope that it works out for them. I'd love to see a team other than Houston win that division for once. But I'm looking forward to that. But I also like was just said, if the Mets were going to have any sort of fallback option for losing DeGrom, it's a pretty hell of a good one to get Justin Verlander. I got two close friends from college who are Mets fans, and I messaged them in a group chat the other day as soon as it happened. I said, hey, remember those 3 days when you guys didn't have two Hall of Famers in your rotation? That's not really something that you often have happen when you're a sports fan, is go from one Hall of Famer in your rotation to another. So I definitely can understand why the Mets were disappointed to lose him, but I don't think that they'll be crying too hard going into next season when they see those two guys coming out of their rotation.
Kenny, can you hear me?
Hey, Kurt.
What's up, boys? How are you?
Hey, Kurt.
Hey,
Thank you guys for Kenny filling in. I appreciate it. I don't hear Mr. Kirkpatrick.
I had myself on mute for a
Okay.
second. Jody's saying, don't hate on Houston. They're building a dynasty. I kind of hate to agree with him there as a Yankee fan, but I do agree with that. Jody's asking a question. I'll ask Kurt, since you just came on, I'll ask you. Are the Rangers now contenders?
Contenders for like a wild card, maybe. I mean, I'm not going to put them in the upper echelon of the AL, but obviously
well, they just got Andrew Haney. I mean, that's a big undercard to DeGrom, but they just signed Andrew Haney as well, and they got some offense over there.
Yeah,
so
I could see them. I could see them battling for like a wild card. Yeah,
I agree. I think just that DeGrom signing is going to put them in the hunt. I mean, the Astros are still going to be the upper echelon of that division, but Rangers are going to be a force to be reckoned with, I think, going forward. Joey, your thoughts on we got to finish off with your thoughts on DeGrom.
You know what? The Mets didn't want to go 5 years. He doesn't, he gets hurt a lot. He misses a lot of games, and Texas is going to win maybe 78, 79 games. The Met owner, he's a smart guy. He's got the best manager in baseball. He says, no problem. We'll take Verlander. And, we got him coming off of Tommy John. He's got electric stuff. Just won the Cy Young. Didn't he win it, right? Did he win the Cy Young? Yeah, all right.
Yes, he did.
And you know what? And if he does, poop the bed, it's only 1 year, 2 years. That's it. It's no big deal. He's a businessman. He don't want to give DeGrom the years. That's just Kansas. And in Texas, they're going to win 78, 79 games this year. They ain't going to get the players. Seattle's a team in the powerhouse in the West. They made the playoffs, the Astros. And then you got the for the wild card, you got Blue Jays. The Red Sox are going to come back. The Yankees, the Rays. It's going to be tough.
Michigan Mark Calderio saying what's up. I know he's getting excited and ready for his playoff run there with his Wolverines. What's up, Mark?
Hey, Mark.
Paul, I'll ask you this question from Jody. Does it worry Mets fans that those two pitchers didn't win anything in Detroit?
No, not at all. I mean, I can only go by what I saw last year with Max Scherzer. That guy was phenomenal. He was a gamer. He wanted to be on the big stage. He proved he could pitch in New York. As much as him and now Verlander pitched in Detroit, it was just a matter of not having the team surrounding him. And in terms of Verlander, reading some of the things, how pumped up and excited he is to come to New York, it's just getting me so excited. I mean, I'm so ecstatic that you lose a guy like DeGrom, and then you bring in someone who arguably could be even better than Jake was. So from that perspective, I'm so excited that these two guys are going to be heading this team for the next 2-3 years.
Kurt, Keith's saying how his Angels are too quiet and he hopes they hold on to Ohtani. Do you think the Angels look to get rid of Ohtani at possibly the deadline or in the offseason next year?
I think it all depends on, what their record is. If they're competing, I think they keep him, right? If they don't, though, again, there's a lot of talk. Yankees are probably out of it now, but there's still a lot of talk that he's the Mets' number one option going forward. They got the connections there. And, you're going to get these big markets that are going to go for him. So if I'm them, again, between him and Trout, right? I mean, you got to start winning sometimes. So, not early, but you get to the trade deadline and they're not winning. I could definitely see them making some kind of move.
Let's move on to our next big signing, and it has to do with our crosstown rivals, the New York Mets. I'm going to let Carson start with this one because he's up there in Michigan and a Detroit Tigers fan, and he was the first one to have Verlander on his team. So we'll give him the opportunity to go first on Justin Verlander and what the Mets are getting in Justin Verlander.
Yeah, obviously he just won another World Series with the Houston Astros. He's been one of my favorite baseball players and baseball pitchers growing up. I mean, the guy was just pure dominance in Detroit. Everybody in Detroit loves him. We could not blame him when he went to the Astros, and he made a great decision, became a world champion there, and he's getting up there. He wants to try to make another run with a different conference in the National League, and he's got his buddy Scherzer there now, and I think they're going to be a legit 1-2 punch with the Mets to go with Lindor. And like I said, I think Paul's going to be very happy. I think Verlander, he's still got the stuff, and he's proven he's still got the stuff. But somebody did say, I forgot who it was, does it concern you that Scherzer and Verlander couldn't get it done in Detroit? And I got to say, that was one of the most disappointing years. That entire Detroit starting rotation got swept by the Giants that year, and all of them are now World Series champions with other teams. So I don't know how we didn't get it done, let alone win a game. But I think, the chemistry of the team, that's a big part of it. The ownership's a part of it. And I think Verlander's going to be just fine in New York.
Paul, I'm going to ask, Mark sent a comment out there, but I'm going to turn it into a question. Mark's comment was, Mets need another bat and a couple of middle relievers, in his opinion. Do you have anybody on top of your mind there, Paul, that you think the Mets should go after as a bat or a middle reliever?
I would love to them to see if they can re-sign Nimmo. I mean, what this kid finally staying healthy brought to them, playing center and playing 150 games, he just brought the dynamic as a leadoff batter. I mean, he would wear the pitcher down the first couple innings, seeing pitch after pitch. His on-base percentage was amazing. He just is a spark. So if somehow they can bring him back, that would be my number one choice. Relief pitchers, I mean, they made a trade for a lefty relief pitcher from the Rays this afternoon. they've got to bring back what's his name, Adam Ottavino. They can see if they can bring him back. That would be good. He had a great year last year for them, but I think for the most part they're pretty much set. Except if Nimmo does sign with another team, then maybe they'll have to look elsewhere. Maybe a Brian Reynolds. They'll make a trade. They like the kid that the outfielder that the Yankees had last year. But we'll see what happens.
A couple more comments. Keith, we're going to get into Judge in about 30 seconds. Keith saying, I can't believe Judge resigned. I was counting on him as being gone. Jody, he is not great if you make the playoffs. And then Keith, back to the Mets. The Mets should get Trout, Paul. The Angels could build from that trade.
Well,
fair enough.
Listen, I wouldn't turn Trout down, believe me. But they would have to give up half their farm system for him, I think.
We got roughly 10 minutes left, fellas. And I think it's that time we should talk about Aaron Judge.
Hey, Kenny, I just wanted to say one thing. Trey Turner was a big sign for the.
Yeah, I do have Trey Turner written down there, Paul. Paul, I'm sorry, Clams. Yeah, you know what? Let's just mention that real quick. That was what, 10 years, 11 years, 300 million?
11 years.
Guy steals 40 bases a year, leadoff batter, speed, can hit for power. The Phillies are a powerhouse right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's Keith, Jody saying, come get Chris Bryant. He does nothing for the Rockies, Paul. And we're going to need half your farm system for Trout. Let's get into Aaron Judge. I know there's going to be some mixed reactions here. I think we lost Ryan. We got Kurt. I'll start with Carson since he's, he's up there in Michigan, so he really doesn't have, he's not in the New York area. What are your thoughts on Aaron Judge there, Carson?
Yeah, he's making the whole MLB and all their baseball fans kind of stressed out because nobody knows what he's going to do quite just yet. He's been, he was just at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers game last night.
Oh, he did sign. If you didn't see it, he did sign. He did sign.
So it's official.
Yeah, I know you're probably busy today. You didn't see it, but he did sign.
It's official now. Okay,
yeah.
wow.
I know yesterday I wrote down Aaron Judge ? But he did sign today with the Yankees.
Gotcha. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think you guys, you had to keep him. I think there was no way you were going to let him go. I mean, he had one of the most remarkable seasons in AL history. Obviously, having the home run record in the AL, I think he's your stud, outfielder for years to come. He's a one of a kind, and I just couldn't see the Yankees letting a once in a lifetime prospect like him go.
Paul, as a Mets fan, I'll let you go next, and then we'll get into the Yankee fans and Mr. Valenti.
Yeah, listen, I could be a Met fan, but I'm also a baseball fan, and the Yankees had to get him. They had to keep him. They had to make him an offer that he couldn't refuse, right, Joey?
Yeah.
Listen, the guy embodies what the Yankees represent. He's a star. He's a New York star. He probably will be named captain, which he will handle like a Jeter. So that would be another aspect of this. They had to keep him, regardless of what the Giants were offering to him. They had to convince him, your legacy is going to be as a New York Yankee. You'll be, we'll retire you in 99. You'll be up there with Ruth and Garrick and DiMaggio and Jeter and Mickey. So they had to do whatever they had to do. They had to open up Steinbrenner's wallet to not let him go. And kudos to them. I mean, he'll retire a Yankee. He got his money. He bet on himself. You couldn't have asked him to do any more than what he did last year. And he turned a contract that none of us would ever turn down. And he bet on himself, and he did the right thing. So kudos to him, the Yankee fans, and we'll look forward to seeing him for the next 9 years in a Yankee uniform.
Kurt, you're going to go next because I'm going to segue right into Jody's comment for you. Jody's saying, strikes out a lot, LOL.
Yeah, listen, I mean, we could have a 2-hour pod on this. It's, career 211 playoff hitter. And I was talking to Joey today, and it's like, well, the money don't matter. Well, now the money matters. I mean, this is on you now. You know, $40 million, you can't be batting 211 in the playoffs with 66 strikeouts in, I believe it's 171 at bats in the postseason when the money's on the line. You know, you're not playing the Pirates, you're not playing the Orioles, you're playing good pitching. And, you know, personally, I think after year 2 or year 3, they're going to be the Boo Birds because, you know, he's not the most athletic guy, right? So what's he going to do? He's going to strike out and hit home runs. He's, you know, when he gets older, and he's only going to get older, it's going to be more strikeouts, less home runs, more strikeouts, less home runs. And you're just going to be 40 million, 40 million, 40 million, pumping into that 40 million. Again, guys, the Yankees didn't get better. Yankees have not gotten better. You know, all we heard was, wait till we get the Astros this year. We want the Astros. We want the Astros. We can't wait to get them. And they got embarrassed and swept. You know, I know a lot of people talk here about the Broncos are bad, this team's bad, that team's bad. But the New York Yankees wanted the Houston Astros, and they got swept. And Aaron Judge in that series, let me just double check with this stat. The guy you just gave $40 million to batted 139 in this postseason this year, and he's not worth $40 million. The Astros own the Yankees. The Astros are better than the Yankees, and it's just going to be the same old story. Cashman, Boone, nothing changes. So, well, I mean, let's be realistic. They're probably not even going to get to the Astros this year. But my opinion, he's not worth that money.
You know what, Kurt? Joey, I'm going to give you the final word on this. So I'm gonna unfortunately, and I hate to do this, you all know me, from fans know me, or our followers know me. You guys all know this. I don't like to agree with Kurt often. I agree with him here. That was way too much money, in my opinion. And I'll bring back the core four: Jeter, Bernie Williams, Posada. They didn't hit no 55, 60 home runs. And what did they do? They won World Series. Pettit, you know, Rivera. They built from their farm system up. And I'm not saying that the Yankees are going to do that, because it's the Yankees. They're not going to do that. But get a Xander Bogaerts, get an Andrew Benintendi, re-sign Benintendi, LeMahieu come back, trade Torres, get rid of all these guys that strike out. Keep one, and that's Stanton, because he can't go anywhere, and he's your power hitter, and build. And you should have went all in and trying to get a DeGrom or a Verlander or even both. And now you got no pitching. You still got Cole, and you just lost Talon, who was an underrated pitcher in my mind on the Yankees, who didn't get he pitched pretty damn good last year for the Yankees, and you lost him. So signing Judge as a Yankee fan, I don't like it. I'm not saying I don't like it. That'd be the wrong word to use. But I don't see the Yankees getting any better. And now what are they going to do for the next 9 years? You got a 6'7" guy who, 35, 36, 37 years old, he's going to break down. He's going to break down. It's just your body. You're going to see a guy break down. And in my opinion, I hope I'm wrong, but I clearly see him breaking down as the years go on. A couple more comments, and then we'll get Joey's words. Joe, the Astro fan, come get more of us. I don't want more of you, Joe. How does Major League Baseball, Keith, how does Major League Baseball reverse the trend and start gaining viewers and fans in 2023 and beyond? It's a good question. Who wants to take that? Paul, you want to take it?
I think a lot of the rules that have been put in place have to be softened, and I think call me a old-fashioned old-timer, but I think some of the rules that they're bringing back in terms of speeding the game up, the non-shifts, you'll have more action, there'll be more competitiveness. I think some of that has to be into play to get people's attention. You know, the football's exciting, basketball's exciting. You're getting more and more people who don't want to watch a baseball game, even going to a baseball game and being there. They're doing all these different things. So they've got to entice the fans back to watch the game and to be interested and market a lot better. And I think some of those things have to be done in order for them to draw the fans back.
Kenny, can I mention one thing? Because you made an awesome point when you said about watching Jeter and those Yankee teams, right? And I watched that Jeter documentary. I forgot what it was, whatever it was called, the one on ESPN. And you just watched that, and how many times, but whether it's Bernie, your guy, Paul O'Neill, but Jeter, Jeter didn't have the best talent. He really didn't. He didn't have the best, but he was so damn clutch. Like, just watching that in the postseason, big hit after big hit after big hit, the 30 for 30 Joey's saying. And that's the difference where, like, that's the champion. He put those teams on his back. He came through. I mean, we joke around, but we're saying as Yankee fans, you insist we're on, Kenny, and you're saying in a postseason, you're down one run, you'd rather have LeMahieu up, you'd rather have Rizzo. You don't even want this guy up. So how are you paying him $40 million? It's not about what you do versus Baltimore. It's the postseason. That's what made Jeter in that group. No home run hitters, base hits, clutch. This isn't clutch, and that's why they haven't won, and they're not going to win.
All right, I want to let Joey Clams get his words in, because he's going to try and sell me on why this was a great signing and why I know when the Yankees had to do it, but I want him to make me happy when he's done talking that the Yankees signed Aaron Judge today for 9 years.
Yeah, let me go back. Kurt was right on a lot of things. What he says, you're paying him the $40 million. You know what? Yeah, you gotta do better in the playoffs. Kenny, you were saying you were thinking about that group. What group does Judge have? He doesn't have a Jeter. He don't have a Tino on his team. He doesn't have a Paul O'Neill on his team. He doesn't have a Dallas Strawberry, Big Daddy. You want to go down the line? Johnny Damon, Matt Suey, Bernie Williams, Mariano Rivera. He doesn't have that. He's the only guy on the team. And you know what? He's getting the brunt of it because of Cashman. And they hired this guy as a puppet, as a manager. Cashman destroyed this team 4 years ago when he says no lefties are going to be in baseball anymore. They're going to be dinosaurs. He built up a righty-heavy softball team. He's destroyed this team. And if you didn't sign Judge, what would be Yankee Stadium? It would be a hot dog stand. It would turn into a hot dog stand. You had to sign him. And the $40 million doesn't come out of their pocket. It's the money that he makes. He makes over 100 and plus almost to $200 million a year for the Yankees with his picture on Prime Video, on Amazon, the Yes Network, the Judge shirts, All Rise, all that stuff. $50 million a year just on T-shirts. They're just taking it out of the kitty. Listen, and Kurt, you said he's not athletic. Are you insane?
No. I'm saying he's not for his age. I'm saying let's be realistic. He's a big guy.
Wait. The guy steals bases.
Right. But I'm saying he's not going to do that for 9 years. That's my point. For 9 years. Carlos Stanton was athletic too.
Hold on,
right?
Kurt.
I'm going to let Joey talk, but Kurt, I want to respond to what Joey said when he's done. I got something I want to respond to. Because go ahead, Joe. I'll let you finish, but then I got a response.
Listen,
I got an answer for your question.
You know what? Of course, the end of the contract is a crapshoot, and it might be a negative. But you're looking at the next 5 years. They got to listen. They got to build a team around the guy. You got to fill in the pieces. You don't have an infield. In the playoffs. You played 9 playoff games this year, and you had 5 different shortstops. That's not. Listen, he didn't hit. Absolutely, I agree with you, and he's got to step up and do that. They have no toughness. I'm a big Yankee fan. They have no toughness. There's no Yankees in that dugout. There's no Yankee coaches. And where's the lefties in the lineup? When the Yankees won World Series, they had lefties. You play down, that ain't 312. That's 310 down the line. Measure it where the pole is. That's 310 down the line. Guys like Nick Swisher made a living. He got paid $16 million a year for 4 years with the Indians because he was a lefty because of Yankee Stadium. They had no lefties. Cashman destroyed this team. You know what? They're not going to win. How are they going to win? There's no formula for them to win. They paid this guy money to save their face because that was a PR move.
My response to Joe, I got a response for you. You said, who does Aaron Judge have? Okay. I'm going to name some guys, and I'm not going to name how they ended their career if they're not with the Yankees. I'm going to name some guys, all right? DJ LeMahieu. Compare him to Derek Jeter. He won a batting title a couple of years ago, didn't he?
Where was he last year in the playoffs?
No, that was last. But I'm saying He
Okay, so we're
1
talking
year.
about
I'm
Kurt was bringing
talking.
up the playoffs.
I'm talking about these guys when they came in. I'm not talking about it as a whole. Aroldis Chapman was supposed to be a great closer, and he was a good closer for a while, right? But we couldn't
No,
win a
he
World
wasn't.
Series with
He
him and
wasn't.
Aaron Judge.
Not when he was with the Yankees. He gave more game-winning home runs in the playoffs.
How about Brett Gardner? You got to compare him to Bernie Williams, right?
Never. Brett Gardner? It's terrible.
And how about Gary Sanchez? When he first came up, everybody thought he was going to be the next thing, the next
Sanchez.
Jorge Posada.
Sanchez was
Right or wrong, Kurt? Right or wrong?
Listen,
All these guys, right? We're supposed to be great for the Yankees.
They're not great.
I'm not
Kenny,
gonna,
Kenny,
I'm
wait,
not gonna
time
play
out.
the
Kenny,
game.
Listen, Kenny, what are you trying to say?
I'm trying to say you can't put all the you can't say Judge has nobody. These guys had good years.
Kenny,
These guys had good years. How about Garrett Cole? Better than Andy Pettitte, right? Better than Andy Pettitte, right?
Yeah.
Oh, I wouldn't say that.
Hold on a second, Kenny. Gary Sanchez? He was good.
Gary Sanchez had a good year, 2 good years with the Yankees. Then he declined.
He was a good catcher.
Offensively, like Posada, yes.
Wait. Was he a good catcher?
Compare Gary Sanchez's offense to Posada.
Kenny,
You're saying Aaron Judge, though. I'm saying what you're saying is Aaron Judge has nobody.
Where is
I
Sanchez?
see guys where he had.
Guys, can I jump in here as a
crazy.
as a Mets
How
fan?
come Sanchez ain't on the team?
Wait, can I jump in here as someone who lived in New York at the time of the Jeter, the core four, watched them as a baseball fan, watched them beat my Mets in the 2000 World Series. You cannot compare some of the guys. I'm sorry, Kenny. You're talking about, well, Jeter was a unanimous Hall of Famer. Pettitte was a borderline Hall of Famer. Posada probably could have been, and maybe at some point gets in as a Hall of Famer. And Bernie Williams, also one of the most solid players in Yankee history. You can't compare any.
You're right. You're right. But let me rephrase, Carson. I'm sorry, Carson. Yeah, real quick, Kurt.
Okay.
Let me rephrase how I want to. Let me rephrase.
I couldn't stop.
Joey Clams said Aaron Judge had no supporting cast. DJ LeMahieu was a batting champion 2 years ago in the shortened season. That's a supporting cast.
He didn't play.
Aroldis Chapman was a good closer for the Yankees for a couple years. That's a good supporting cast. Brett Gardner was a hell of a Yankee. That's a good supporting cast. So I don't want to hear that Judge didn't have anybody.
Chapman, where is
this past year he didn't have anybody. This past year he didn't have anybody. I'll give you that. But you can't say for his whole career he didn't have anybody.
Here's the other thing.
What are you talking about? Chapman gave up walk-off. He couldn't even find the plate. He was throwing the ball into the loge.
Here's the other thing. This team versus the Yankees in the past. You had a Tino as a supporting player. You had Paul O'Neill as a supporting player. You had
Big Daddy
as a supporting player.
Strawberry, Tim Raines.
Right, exactly. You brought those guys into fit. Plus, the number one thing that none of you guys are saying, you went into the 9th inning of a game that you were winning. You were winning that game because Mariano was not losing that game. That's the big difference.
Paul, I want to contradict Joey Clams, though, okay? Because what he
hold on.
I want to get Clams on this.
Sanchez.
Clams is wrong on this, okay? When you say there's no supporting cast, what do they do to you as a batter, Kenny? We coached in Little League. You pitch around them, right?
Yes.
Well, let me explain to you. In 9 playoff games this year with no supporting cast, basically that means the team should have just, like, what was the guy's name in Bad News Bears, where they were like, walk him, right? So,
what was his name? Kelly
Leak, walk him. Like 36 at bats, he had 2 walks. The teams were just like, get the hell out of here. Let's go. We're not going to pitch around them. So in 36 at bats, 2 walks.
You guys already talked.
Wait a minute. And how many?
Hold on.
Hold on. He had so 2 walks, so nobody pitched around him, and 15 strikeouts. He struck out half the time. I don't care if it's me, Carson, and Kenny behind him. Nobody pitched around him. They went right at him, and the Astros went right at him. And what? Strike three.
Carson,
strike three.
Be our mediator, Carson.
Come on.
Who's right? Who's wrong? Are we both right? Are we both wrong? Be our mediator.
Yeah, I think all of you guys are making great points, and I think I have a guy who's kind of similar in comparison that I can relate to. Miguel Cabrera, 2014, 2013, tore up the league, AL batting champion, Silver Slugger, Triple Crown winner. He has not been the same Miguel Cabrera the last couple of years. Yeah, he had his 3,000 hits. He's going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. But again, what Kurt was saying, when the money's on the line, you got to show up in the playoffs. And Judge
absolutely, and I agree
not
with
do that this year, where compared to Miggy in his prime, he definitely did that. But I think baseball is such a weird contract because it's the most demanding sport out of all the sports. These guys play 162 games a year, almost every single game, and it's going to take a wear and tear on their bodies. So I think time will tell. Who knows? Aaron Judge may end up becoming one of the greatest baseball players of all time. He might be in that conversation, but I think it's just kind of interesting because as a Tiger fan, everybody was saying, oh, we got to pay Miguel Cabrera. He's one of the greatest ever. He's got to do it. He just won the Triple Crown, and haven't seen a playoff appearance since, and he's not the same Miguel Cabrera as he once was, and that's just fine. Guys have their primes, and guys dip out of their primes. So we'll see what happens with Judge, but very similar situation. Miguel was around 30 when he got his giant contract, and Aaron Judge is turning 30 right now. So we'll see what happens, but one guy can't win you a World Series.
Good point. Guys, real quick, let me read some Jody Moncrief has a couple comments. He makes some good points. Yankees in 5 years will have a team full of designated hitters, Kurt. Yeah, none of us mentioned Anthony Rizzo. I'm a fan of Anthony Rizzo. I am. I like Anthony Rizzo. And we are arguing about a bad team, and we are. The Yankees are a bad team right now. When you got that big of a payroll and that big of expectations, you're a bad team. And
let me get back to what he said about 5 years for the designated hitter. No. Joe,
we got to wrap up because we're running late. So we got to get the closing thoughts in 3 minutes. We got 3 minutes.
But listen, the Judge carried the Yankees to the division this year by himself. Nobody else, by himself. He carried them. He won games single-handedly, and he did.
Okay, listen, but here's my point, though. We talk about basketball. Wait, we talk about basketball, right, Joe? Or we talk about football,
I'm talking about baseball. You got 2 minutes.
But wait. Patrick Mahomes got $50 million, not to win the AFC West. You gave him that to win Super Bowls, not the AFC West. You didn't. That's if you didn't win it, he choked. That's
Kurt,
it.
I know what your answer is going to be on this. Rapid fire question for everybody.
You never even let me finish the talk.
I know. Go ahead, Joe. We're running out of time. That's what.
Wait, you were talking about Sanchez and Garner? Come on, those guys were sick. Sanchez, you think Sanchez belonged behind the plate? He was a DH. Voit was a DH. Encarnacion, DH. Stanford never on the field. Calls, DH. They had Andahar, DH. This is Cashman's fault. You've got this guy who had 62 home runs. You got him batting first? Come on, man. He should be batting first. It's terrible.
Well, I agree with you there. Your best batter should be batting third.
None of those guys you measured. Chapman? Why, Chapman was good for the Yankees? Come on.
I said for a year. He wasn't good. I'm not talking about how they ended their
home runs. No, he didn't. Listen, they don't have who's the Yankees shortstop? Right now. Who's their shortstop?
Right now it's one of the rookies.
Yeah.
We should be the guy who we should have went and signed. The guy who we should have went and signed was Xander Bogaerts.
Who's the Yankees second baseman?
A guy who we should be trading, Gleyber Torres.
Kenny, couple new questions. Kenny.
Now where's LeMahieu going?
You guys want to stay on? You can stay on. I gotta wrap up. But
Kenny,
you guys can stay on.
We got a couple comments.
This is Cashman's fault.
Richie Katwinka. Yankees have the same team pretty much. I got swept by the Astros. Jody. Yankees need a new manager. Richie again. And this is the best comment of the night. Yankees are built for the regular season. Again, Judge hits all homers against the Pirates, the Orioles, and all those.
Yep.
Not when it comes clutch. Paul Mulvaney, what's going on, Paul? Yankees need to add a player or two. Current last year's team proved it was not good enough. Jody, Judge at leadoff is a joke. And Richie saying the 2 rookies will be at second base and shortstop next year. They should. They should.
The problem is you just signed Aaron Judge for $400 million. That's problem 1. Problem 2 is you're not going to get a Xander Bogaerts.
Why
you're not going to get that because the money's not there now.
Why?
You're not going to have a $500 million payroll.
But the money's not coming out of their pocket, Kenny. They don't pay. They're not paying.
It's not the old man, though, Joe. I agree with you. But it's not the old man. The old man, Steinbrenner, would have clearly spent all the money.
Let me tell you something. You know what happened with this negotiation? Judge didn't want to talk to Cashman at all. Him and Cashman, he doesn't want nothing to do with Cashman. He only dealt with Hal. Hal did what his father did. Hal says, what do we got to do? Do I got to match their offer? You want to be a Yankee? I want to be a Yankee. I'll match their offer? Yeah. Match the offer. You're a Yankee. He did what his father did. He had a safe face. That was because Yankee Stadium would be a hot dog stand. Okay? And I'll be the first to say, I don't like this team. This team is not good. They're not tough. There's no Yankee coaches in the dugout. Like years ago, Billy had Elston Howard, Yogi. Guidry was in there. Chambliss. Willie Rand. Where's Willie Randolph? They got a pitching coach who was a JV volleyball player. He never even pitched a game in his life. Cashman destroyed this team. Cashman, and 100%, Kurt. Judge has got to, when he comes to the players, he's got to show up. He's got to show up, but you got to build a team. So that's not one guy. You got to build a team. The Yankees stink. What are you doing with LeMahieu? You mentioned LeMahieu. What are you doing with LeMahieu?
But Joe, if the Yankees stink, why did you hire a guy for 4 years that built this team that stinks?
I don't want him, not me, buddy. I'm against him.
But I'm saying, think about it.
Yeah, they just rehired him.
They rehired the same guy.
Believe me, we didn't do anything. You still got the same team. It's terrible.
By the way, who's
got to go?
Who's playing in the World Cup tomorrow? Anybody?
That's fine.
I'm trying to change the subject here. It's time for closing thoughts.
Can I just say one thing about that?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to. I got 2 minutes. I got to get going. I got to make a call to work. So you guys can stay on all night. That's fine. I just got to close it up my end on 2 minutes. So
do you guys know Cristiano Ronaldo?
Yep.
He apparently just signed. If you think Judge is signing a big contract, he signed a contract for, get this, $207 million a year. A year.
Ridiculous.
Okay. So just wanted to throw that out there.
Where to the Saudis, right?
Yeah, exactly.
That's ashtray money.
Or you guys can stay on. I actually got to call work. I got to.
No, we can do final thoughts. We're good for final thoughts.
All right, Joey Clams, final thoughts.
You know what? I'm glad Judge is still a Yankee, but they got bigger. They're just camouflaging that with the big problems. They don't know who their shortstop is. They don't know who their second baseman is. Stanton is clogging up the lineup because LeMahieu should be your DH. You should get a one of these rookies and put them at second. If you're not gonna, don't do what you did with Espinal Florio and you did Miguel Andujar. You suck them and you leave them down there so they don't become free agents, and you destroy their soul and their courage. If you're not going to let these young kids play, get rid of them and make a trade. Get a big trade. Oh, Hicks is another guy. This is all on Cashman. Cashman's got to go, and Boone's a terrible manager. He's terrible. He doesn't know, when it comes to the playoffs, he doesn't know what he's doing. He doesn't know how to use his pitching staff. He doesn't know what to do with his lineup. He had 5 different players in 9 games at shortstop. You're not winning like that. Come on. Who's your shortstop back in the 90s? Jeter. Who was your shortstop for the A's when they won? Bergkamp and Harris. Who was your shortstop for the Reds? Concepcion. You got one shortstop. You don't got 5 in 9 games. I'm sorry. Cashman's got to go. Boone's got to go. Yankees will still be the same. They'll win the 95 games, and then that's it. They'll get knocked out in the playoffs.
My final thoughts is I will always be a Yankee fan, but I will be watching because it's more fun to watch Oriole games this year over Yankee games. I live in Maryland. I'll get the Oriole games, and they are a more fun team to watch than the Yankees. That's my final thoughts. I will see everybody tomorrow for Wits and Wagers. Paul, final thoughts.
Great show. This is why we love sports, because we all have opinions. No one can say you're right, you're wrong. Everybody has their own opinion on everything regarding sports, and that's why I love tonight's show. Thank you.
Carson.
Yeah, great show tonight, guys. Always love talking sports with you all. Looking forward to Wits and Wagers, and enjoy everybody's rest of your Wednesday nights.
Carson, where can we find you when you're not here with us?
Yeah, if you guys are interested in casino content, we're on Facebook now as well. Just search up Ticket Time. You'll find me over there, as well as on YouTube, Ticket Time Live. We do live streams typically a couple times a week.
Guys, no excuses. Go on YouTube, but no excuses for everybody commenting on here. Just go and like Carson's Ticket Time page on Facebook or YouTube or any of his platforms, or all his platforms, I should say. It's an awesome time. And Kurt, you get the final word tonight.
My final word is, first off, Joey Clams. I love the Adidas hoodie. I love it. I have a lot of them. I know you're rocking the Adidas. I like it. Number two,
all day I dream about sports.
Let's talk about all our teams right here. My team, total shambles. Kenny and Paul and Sis, you're 4 quarters away from big time shambles. The team that's hottest on this panel is the Carson Shear Detroit Lions, baby. You're the best bet right here, because the Giants are in trouble come 4:30 on Sunday. I got 5 more games of the Nathaniel Hackett era. Get that the hell out of here. And Joey Clam's got major problems with his Yankees. So we're all got problems.
I don't like it. I don't like it.
We all got problems, and you know who's going to wind up in the playoffs? Carson Shears and his Detroit Lions.
There you go. There you go.
So that's my final thought.
All right, boys. We will see everybody tomorrow for Wits and Wagers. Have a good night. Thank you for everybody for commenting. Jody, Keith over at Denver Bronco Roundup.
Paul.
Richie,
anybody
Paul,
see Richie?
Anybody I forgot, I apologize, but thank you for the comments. Always appreciate it. It makes our show.
Tomorrow, Kenny.
Yep, Wits and Wagers, 6 p.m.